So you want to build a PC, a gaming PC, because you are an awesome gamer and you are going to be next ninja of whatever game you are playing. Believe me, my friend, you are going to be, but you are a little bit confused. That can having too much CPU cores hurt my gaming PC? Is that sounds like you? Well then, my friend, you landed on the perfect video, because in this video I'm gonna explain, is having too many cores bad for your gaming performance or it isn't? Hey guys, this is Akash from Techno, and we make daily tech content similarly like this, and this is one of the video of our ongoing series where we explain some of the complex topics in computer in easy, fun and entertaining way. So if that sounds good to you, well then don't forget to subscribe. Now let's get on the topic. Well, if you haven't checked out the last video where I talked about how many CPU cores do you need depending on your criteria, well, check that video right here. Now let's talk about, can having too many cores hurts? Because right now we see CPUs with 64 cores. If I'm looking at a Threadripper, well, can having a Threadripper will help my gaming performance or not? Well, the answer is a little bit complicated, because it can, but it also cannot. So what do I mean by that? So when you download a game, you download it on your hard drive or SSD or the storage medium you're using. I hope you're not using a floppy disk, and if you are, I don't know what to say. But the point is, those storage mediums cannot run your games because they are not meant for that. For that, you need RAM, CPU, GPU. Now we know GPU does all the heavy lifting or the graphics processing. So what's the part of the CPU and the RAM, and why this is all important about how many cores you need, or can too many cores hurt your gaming performance? Well, believe me, it will make sense. Just hear me out. Well, GPU is really great when it comes to processing your graphics, but it is not great to do other stuff like NPC behavior. When you play a game, there are NPCs. Now their behaviors needs to be calculated, and all those tasks are done by your CPU. And there are a bunch of other things like telling your GPU what to do. Your GPU, as I said, are very great to when it comes to processing graphics, but it is not that much great for other tasks. So your CPU has to tell your GPU what to do. Now also at the same time, all your game's assets are stored on your hard drive, but when you play a game, those assets needs to go to RAM, but your GPU cannot directly access your RAM, at least for the time being, because Microsoft DirectX storage, it's another thing and which I'm not talking about today. So let's just think about it cannot access your RAM. So all that assets has to go to your GPU because it needs to be rendered. Well, your CPU sends those assets to your GPU's VRAM. Now you see, it's a very long road. Now let's just simplify it very much. Your GPU is the destination point, your RAM is the starting point, and your CPU is the car. Now tell me, if you want to cover that route and you want to do it fast, what type of car you need? A big car or a fast car? Well, you can say a fast car, and I would say you are absolutely right, because you need a fast car. So what that means, having more cores will hurt your gaming performance? No, because every single day we are taking a step towards more and more technological improvements, and as we have seen throughout last few years, that having more cores, it doesn't always means lesser gaming performance, because right now the most powerful gaming CPU in the world, or the most fastest gaming CPU in the world, is a Ryzen 9 5950X, which is a 16 core CPU. And if you told someone's, like, probably 5 years ago, let's just not go 5 years, in like 2016 or 2015, well, that's 5 years, but yeah, at that time, if you told even me that a 16 core CPU can be awesome at gaming performance, I would say you are crazy person, because at that time that was true. And that is not only because CPUs got improved, but also at the same time game devs are improving how they optimize their games. Game devs are trying to use more and more CPU resources and CPU power to better optimize their games. So sometimes in some games, having more CPU cores can help. Like example is Far Cry 5. If you throw, or if you give it more CPU resources, or in this example more cores, it will perform better. But also at the same time, that doesn't mean that you need to buy a Threadripper, which is a 64 core CPU. And you may ask that, well, you already said it doesn't hurt. That's the reason why I said you need to watch this video through. Well, CPU is not a big piece of hardware. GPU can be big and it looks big and we want it big, but we don't want our CPU to be big. A CPU size is very small. It's not that much big. Now, if you cram a 64 cores, 64 individual cores into it with simultaneous multi-threading on, just think about how much heat it will generate. So for that reason, manufacturers try to lower down their core clock, because at that level you don't really need high clock CPU. If you are buying a Threadripper, that means you need more cores rather than fast cores. Now let's just think about the car example that I gave you. Threadripper is a big car. It can handle more, but it cannot go fast. But the Ryzen 9 5900X, it's not only fast, but it also can handle more. Now, all of the things that I explained, these are very simplified from. If I want to go technical, I can start talking about NUMA, UMA, all these things. But I think most of you don't want me to be that much technical. If you want me, tell me in the comment section and I can do that. Honestly, do you want to? I think most of you want to know this stuff because it's cool. For me, it's cool, and I am sure you are not preparing for an exam and you're watching this video for that. If you're doing that, well, my friend, get some help and start reading some books. Okay, that's gonna be a suggestion for you. If you are watching this video just for fun, well, that's the all thing you need to know. Now, when it comes to recommendation, I said watch this video, but for this video, I'm also saying it. If you have the budget, moderate amount of, get a 6-core CPU. Most of the Ryzen 6-core CPUs are really great, whether you get a 3rd generation or the current 5th generation. Although getting a 5th generation would be hard for you, and it's a little bit 20% better, so it's not a little bit, it's a significant upgrade. But if you cannot get your hands on a 5th generation, 3rd generation will be fine. If you are on a budget, get a Ryzen 3 3100, awesome CPU. And if you have the money and you can go full baller, get a Ryzen 9 5915X. It's the best gaming CPU right now in the world. So I know this video was short and simple, but I hope you had fun. If you had, well, give it a like. If you don't, leave it a dislike, but it hurts, so just think about it twice. Now, if you want to know how a CPU works, well, watch this video right here. It is really interesting. And if you want to have fun like this, well, watch the whole CPU playlist. And if you want to subscribe, do it by here. And there's Akash, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.